Turkey, with its strategic location connecting the two continents of Eurasia, is not only an important country in the modern world, but also has a profound significance in the Bible. Biblical prophecies not only provide a glimpse of past events, but also reveal the wonders to come, where nations and peoples will play essential roles in God's plan. Turkey, with its rich historical heritage dating back to ancient times, including famous empires such as the Ottoman Empire, has been mentioned in prophecies, especially in the books of Ezekiel and Daniel. In these prophecies, Turkey is not only part of the historical background, but also involved in end-time events, such as the War of Gog and Magog, the great trials that nations will face in the end times. Along with the connections between surrounding countries, the lessons from Türkiye in the Bible open up a profound view of God's justice, restoration, and grace toward the nations. Number 1. History and prophecy of Türkiye in the Bible. Türkiye not only played an essential role in the history of Christianity, but also appeared prominently in biblical prophecy. The story begins with the Apostle Paul, a man who was a persecutor of Christianity, but became one of the greatest missionaries in the history of the faith. Paul, who contributed significantly to the formation of much of the New Testament, was born in Tarsus, a city in Turkey. The connection between Turkey and Christianity began here. Paul made many missionary journeys and wrote letters to churches in this area. His letters, such as the letter to the Galatians and the letter to the Ephesians, not only helped strengthen the faith but also played an essential role in the development of Christianity in Anatolia. The city of Ephesus, where Paul lived and taught in the area where one of the first Christian churches was founded, this is a testament to the connection between Türkiye and the beginnings of Christianity. Footnote: in addition to these historical events, Turkey plays a vital role in biblical prophecy. The biblical origins of Turkey can be traced back to the Table of Nations in Genesis 10, which lists the descendants of Noah and the nations they settled in after the Great Flood. According to Genesis 10 verses 2 through 5, the land that is now Turkey was settled by the descendants of Japheth, Noah's third son. In particular, Gomer and Togarmah, two sons of Japheth, are said to be the first people to inhabit the Anatolia region. These names appear not only in Genesis, but also in other prophetic books. Especially in the book of Ezekiel, Gomer was the ancestor of the peoples of Asia Minor, now part of Turkey. Togarmah, one of Gomer's descendants, is said to have lived in northern Turkey, near Armenia and the eastern regions of Turkey today. These peoples, Gomer and Togarmah, play an essential role in biblical prophecy, especially in Ezekiel 38, where these nations, along with their armies, are predicted to join a coalition of countries that invade Israel in the War of Gog and Gog. This is an important part of the final prophecies in the Bible, where modern events can be linked to what was predicted thousands of years ago. Turkey, with this historical and prophetic connection, continues to be a highly influential nation in the modern context. The connections between historical events, religious events, and these prophecies will continue illuminating Turkey's future role, especially when looking at the final war that the Bible foretold. Looking at historical and prophetic events, we realize that every nation has a role to play in God's great plan. Turkey, with its events from the time of the Apostle Paul to the prophecies in the book of Ezekiel, still holds a special place in our understanding of prophecy and the fulfillment of God's plan on earth. We are reminded that every nation, people, and individual has a part to play in God's great story. And despite the challenges and difficulties we face today, we trust that God will fulfill His word. The Bible's prophecies about Turkey and other nations will never come to naught, but will be fulfilled exactly as God said. Number 2. The Last War. The prophecy, connection between Türkiye, Iran, and Russia. In the last days, we will witness a great event prophesied in the book of Ezekiel, a terrible invasion of Israel. This is the War of Gog and Magog, in which all the great nations from the east and the north will join in a dark alliance with the goal of attacking Israel. These prophecies imply a military war and open up divine vision to protect His people. In Ezekiel 38, we see a clear description of this attack, led by Gog from the land of Magog. The nations involved in this invasion are clearly listed in the prophecy, including Gomer and Togarmah, names that are not only reminders of ancient history, but also essential signs of future events. Gomer and Togarmah, names linked to history and the future. Gomer and Togarmah are not only names from the past, but also images of peoples that will play an essential role in the final events. Gomer, according to the book of Genesis, was a descendant of Japheth, the son of Noah. Modern scholars have suggested that Gomer may represent peoples in the northern European region, such as Turkey, Hungary, and possibly parts of Russia. Togarmah, the son of Gomer, may represent countries located in the Anatolia region, which is now Turkey. This is a land with a rich history, having been inhabited by ancient peoples such as the Hittites and Phrygians. This helps us understand the connection between modern-day Türkiye and the events to come. Turkey, a key alliance in the war of Gog and Magog. We cannot help but notice the major shift in global politics, where Turkey is emerging as a key player in this prophetic scenario. Turkey's strategic position, coupled with its increasingly close ties to major powers such as Iran and Russia, makes it an indispensable part of the fierce war that Ezekiel foretold. Today, Turkey maintains a strong alliance with both Iran and Russia. This relationship is becoming more evident as these countries begin to cooperate more closely politically and militarily. This creates a clear future picture of how these nations, who are linked together in prophecy, will contribute to a major attack on Israel in the last days. Divine intervention and Israel's ultimate victory. However, the prophecy does not simply describe a military attack, but opens up a divine perspective. When these nations attack Israel, God will intervene in a significant way, protecting his people from destruction. In Ezekiel 38, we are reminded that this war will end in a great victory for Israel, not through human military might, but through the direct intervention of God. This is a powerful message of God's power and might. While people may look at these political and military alliances and see invincibility, we need to remember that no one can stand against the power of God. No matter how powerful the enemies, God is the Almighty, the one who protects his people in the darkest times. Paul approached the just statue and gave it a firm shake. He then walked away. Ezekiel's prophecy. The link between past and future. Names like Gomer and Togarmah are not just names from ancient history, but also symbols of nations that will have significant influence in the end times. These prophetic events are not far-fetched or happening in the very distant future. They are happening right before our eyes in the political, military, and economic relations of major nations. With the development of relations between Turkey, Iran, and Russia, we cannot help but see that the prophecy in Ezekiel is becoming more apparent than ever. Turkey, with its strategic location and international relations, will play a major role in these events. We must prepare ourselves, pray, and put our trust in God's protection, because he will not abandon his people. Divine intervention and Christian faith. With God's intervention, Israel will be victorious and all its enemies will be defeated. This prophecy is a powerful reminder of God's protection and omnipotence. We must understand that these events are not just a war between nations, but a spiritual war between the forces of good and evil. Christians are called to live in faith and hope, knowing that God is always with us in every situation. Let us trust in his divine intervention, no matter how fierce this battle may be. This battle will not end with Israel's defeat, but with the ultimate victory of God's chosen people. Do not fear. Trust the prophecy. Finally, the prophecy in Ezekiel 38 is a reminder of God's everlasting power. As we face life's challenges, remember that he is always near and will protect us in our most difficult days. No matter what the nations plot, or how powerful the forces of this world may be, we can rest assured in God's protection. These prophecies are not meant to frighten us, but to remind us of the greatness of God and the perfection of his plan. In this final battle, God will win, and we who trust in him will share in that victory with him. Number 3, the journey of redemption through the nations. Throughout history, nations and civilizations have had a profound influence on the formation and development of Israel. Here is the story of ancient peoples, from the Hittites to the Persians, and their role in God's plan of redemption for the people of Israel. The Hittites, one of the great civilizations of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, left a significant mark on the Old Testament. The Hittite Empire flourished from about the 17th to the 12th centuries BC, and their influence spread from Anatolia to the Levant in Mesopotamia. One of the notable events in the Bible is Abraham's purchase of the burial ground for his wife Sarah from Ephron, a Hittite, as recorded in Genesis 23:10 and 16. In particular, Uriah, a Hittite warrior in King David's army, also is a prominent figure in the story of King David and Bathsheba in 2 Samuel 11. These events show the close relationship between the Hittites and Israel, despite living in a world of turmoil and conflict. As the Hittite Empire declined around 1200 BC, small kingdoms such as Phrygia and Lydia emerged, continuing to influence Anatolia. The Phrygians, located in modern-day central Turkey, were prominent in art and culture and developed their writing system. During his missionary journeys, the Apostle Paul passed through Phrygia, and it is recorded in Acts 16:6 that Paul and his associates were prevented from entering the region to preach because of the blockade. This blockade reminds us that sometimes doors may close in our journeys, but that is part of God's plan. In western Anatolia, Lydia is notable for the city of Sardis, where Lydia, a purple cloth merchant, was one of the first believers in Europe to embrace Christianity. Lydia's story is recorded in Acts 16:14, where she was not only the first Christian convert, but also a testament to the spread of Christianity in Europe. Lydia, a woman of talent and wealth, was open to Paul's preaching and became part of the new faith community. When the Persian Empire invaded Anatolia in the 6th century BC, the region became an essential part of the Persian Empire, playing a strategic role in wars and trade. Persian rule not only affected the surrounding countries, but also had a profound impact on Israel. One of the most important events was the decree of Cyrus the Great, who allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple after their exile in Babylon. This decree is recorded in Ezra 1:01, the Ezra 5, where the Persian king declared that the Jews could return to their homeland to restore their temple. This was not just a political event, but also part of God's grand plan of redemption, representing the restoration and rebirth of the nation of Israel. Anatolia, under Persian rule, was not only an important trading center, but also the scene of military battles between Persia and the Greek empires. Its strategic location allowed Persia to maintain its power and influence in the region, and it was also where God carried out his grand plans for the redemption of the people of Israel. These events demonstrate the close connection between peoples and nations in a grand story that God had planned long ago. Ancient peoples such as the Hittites, Phrygians, Lydians, and Persians were not only historical figures, but also instruments in God's redemptive plan for the people of Israel. Each nation, regardless of its influence or direct interaction with Israel, contributed to the grand story that God was writing. These events are not just pieces of history, but also examples of God's guidance and power, which we cannot fully understand without looking at his plan. We see that throughout the ages, God has used different civilizations and nations to accomplish his great purposes. From the Hittites to the Persians, each event holds valuable lessons for us. Lessons of faithfulness, restoration, and hope for salvation. The stories of these peoples remind us that no matter how the world changes, God always has a great plan for everyone. So let us learn from history, not only to better understand ancient civilizations, but also to recognize God's presence in our every move. The lessons from past peoples and events are a powerful source of encouragement, reminding us of the faithfulness and power of faith in difficult times. We are called to live in hope, trusting in the redemption and restoration that God has in store for each of us, no matter where we come from. Number 4. Footsteps of Faith, the historical development of Christianity. In the history of Christianity, Anatolia, a region located in present-day Turkey, has played an indispensable role in developing the Christian faith. The famous cities of Anatolia were not only centers of trade and culture, but also witnessed the spread of Christianity from the early days of the early church. Ephesus, one of the most important cities of early Christianity, had a profound impact on the missionary journeys of the Apostle Paul. He visited Ephesus during his missionary journey and sent the letter to the Ephesians, one of the most famous letters in the New Testament, to the Christian community there. In addition, this city is also where the Apostle John, the author of the book of Revelation, spent the last years of his life. During this time, John not only wrote the book of Revelation but also preached the gospel, cementing Ephesus' important place in the history of Christianity. The image of this city, with the Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, gradually gave way to the strong influence of Christianity, demonstrating the unwavering power of faith in a polytheistic world. Also in this region, the city of Galatia is notable for the Apostle Paul's letter to the Galatians, where he affirms the importance of freedom in the Christian faith and rejects traditional Jewish rites. This letter not only reflects the close relationship between Paul and the Christians in Galatia, but also shows the importance of Anatolia in the development of early Christianity. The doctrines that Paul mentions in the letter also pave the way for a fresh, powerful, and modern form of Christianity. In the book of Revelation, we see the emergence of 7 churches of Asia located in the territory of Anatolia in modern-day Türkiye. These Christian communities, from Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum to Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea, were not only places where the faith was spread, but also vivid examples of the trials and hardships faced by believers in the early years of Christianity. Each church reflects a distinct character of the communities, and the advice and warnings that Jesus addressed to them still resonate through the centuries, reminding us of the resilience of faith and the importance of maintaining a right relationship with God. Ephesus is once again a key point in the history of Christianity, when the Apostle John carried out important missionary work and wrote his letters, 1 through 3 John. This city is not only where John wrote his famous works, but also where the fire of faith was kindled in the hearts of the Christian community, from the early days of the early church to the profound doctrines of the faith. Although Ephesus was a center of polytheism, it was here that Christianity found its place to grow and gain influence, a clear demonstration of the victory of faith in the fight against pagan values. Besides Ephesus and Galatia, Türkiye was the site of another prominent event in the history of Christianity, the Council of Nicaea, 325 AD, where bishops from all over gathered in Nicaea, now Iznik, Türkiye, to resolve doctrinal disputes, especially regarding the nature of Jesus. This was an important event because the Council of Nicaea adopted the Nicene Canon, a document that would form the basis of Christian doctrine for centuries to come. The event also reflects the strong growth of Christianity in the region, showing how Türkiye played a role in shaping the doctrinal foundations of the Christian Church. Through these important cities and events, Anatolia was not only the land that witnessed the flowering of Christianity, but also the place where many important events took place, from the missions of the Apostle Paul to the existence of churches in the book of Revelation, to the first councils that shaped Christian doctrine. Turkey, with all its rich history and culture, has contributed significantly to the development of the global Christian church. The journey of Christianity through Anatolia is a testament to the perseverance of faith in a constantly changing world. From the early missions of the Apostle Paul to the strong teachings formed through the Council of Nicaea, all show that the Christian faith is not simply a religion, but a great force, capable of changing the world. The footsteps of Jesus and his apostles left indelible marks on history, and the lessons from that history still resonate today, reminding us of the power of faith, sacrifice, and the boundless love that God has for humanity. Number 5. The Movement of Empires, a story of history, religion, and prophecy. In the course of history of great empires, their rise and fall not only reflected political and military changes, but were also part of God's grand plan. These events were linked to God's prophecies and were a testament to his intervention in nations and peoples. The scriptures help. Constantinople, now Istanbul, was one of the most important cities in the development of Christianity. Founded in 330 AD by Emperor Constantine I, the city became the capital of the Byzantine Empire, marking the transition from the Western Roman Empire to the Eastern Roman Empire. This was when Christianity began to flourish under the emperor's patronage, when Constantine I recognized Christianity as a legitimate religion, granting religious freedom to believers. The promulgation of the Edict of Milan in 313 AD was a turning point, important, helping Christianity flourish in this region. Not only a political center, Constantinople also became the spiritual center of Eastern Christianity. It was here that essential councils took place, including the Council of Nicaea in 325, which established the fundamental teachings of Christianity and determined the relationship between Jesus and God. For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople was a stronghold of the Eastern Orthodox Church, as well as a center of culture, scholarship, and theology. However, as the Islamic Empire began to expand beyond the Arabian Peninsula, the influence of Christianity in the Middle East and Eastern Europe began to decline. In the 7th and 8th centuries, invasions by Muslim empires, especially the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates, gradually brought Christian lands to the hands of Muslim powers. Constantinople, despite being a stronghold of Eastern Christianity, could not escape these attacks. However, the city defended itself tenaciously for centuries, especially during the Muslim sieges from the 7th to the 11th centuries. However, the decline of the Byzantine Empire in the late 14th century paved the way for the rise of the Ottoman Empire, a powerful Muslim empire. The Ottoman conquest of important territories completely changed the political and religious landscape in the region. In particular, the fall of Constantinople in 1453 under Sultan Mehmed II was a significant event that marked the end of the Byzantine Empire. Although Constantinople was protected by strong walls, on 29 May 1453, the Ottomans captured the city after months of siege. This was a great shock to the Eastern Christian world, ending the more than 1,000-year existence of the Byzantine Empire. The city was renamed Istanbul and became the capital of the Ottoman Empire, and great churches such as the Hagia Sophia were converted into mosques. This was a powerful symbol of the transition from Christian influence to Islamic dominance in the region. The fall of Constantinople not only ended one empire, but also ushered in a new era for the Ottoman Empire, which grew to become one of the most powerful empires in history, lasting until its collapse in the 20th century. This transition not only reflected a change in politics, but also a sign of a change in religion and culture in the region. For those who believe in God's prophecy, these events were part of His great plan, where He intervened to determine the fate of empires and peoples. This is a lesson in the greatness and fall of empires, and in the steadfastness of faith. As empires rise and fall, God has always watched and intervened in human history. These events are not random, but part of His plan, so that each people can clearly perceive His presence and learn lessons from the rise and fall of great empires. Number 6. Türkiye and the Final War, the Mystery of Prophecy. In the prophetic books of the Bible, such as Ezekiel 38-39 and Revelation 20, an important war is described, the War of Gog and Magog. This is an event of special importance in the last days, when a coalition of nations will attack Israel. This is not just a conflict, but a time when God directly intervenes to protect His people, a sign of a significant intervention in world history. According to the prophecy in Ezekiel, Gog, the leader of a northern coalition, will lead this attack. Magog is said to be the land north of Israel, possibly including Turkey, Russia, and lands in Central Asia. And notably, in Ezekiel 38:6, there is a mention of Togarma, a nation said to be associated with the northern regions of Türkiye, as an ally in the war against Israel. Turkey and its special place in prophecy. Modern Turkey plays an important role in the interpretation of this prophecy. The connection between modern Turkey and the ancient lands described in the Bible, especially the northern regions, makes it impossible not to think of Turkey as an essential part of this war. The lands of Togarma in Ezekiel are considered to correspond to Turkey, especially the Anatolia region, the area of modern Turkey. Turkey, throughout its history, was the center of the Ottoman Empire, an empire that had far-reaching influence, especially over the surrounding areas, including Israel. The changing political and geographical landscape has made Turkey a strategically important factor not only for the Middle East, but also for the entire world, especially when looking at its location at the crossroads of three continents, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Today's alliance: Turkey, Russia, and Iran. Russians. One notable point in the context of the prophecy of the Gog and Magog War is the growing cooperation between Turkey, Russia, and Iran. These countries have gradually increased their political, military, and economic cooperation in recent years, especially concerning the war in Syria and political issues in the Middle East. This relationship has attracted the attention of scholars and researchers because it raises the possibility that Turkey could play a major role in the final conflict prophesied by the Bible. Russia and Iran have been aligned on many issues, especially in the conflict in Syria. Turkey, despite being a member of NATO, tends to cooperate more closely with Iran and Russia, especially in political and military matters in the Middle East. This cooperation affects the current political landscape and can also be a decisive factor in the major events that will take place in the coming months and years. Turkey in the final war. Given the current political and military relationship between Turkey, Russia, and Iran, it is clear that Turkey will not only participate in the final war, but can also be one of the main drivers of the events in the war of Gog and Magog. According to Ezekiel's prophecy, the attack will come from the north, where the nations of Gog, Magog, and Togarmah will be involved. This includes Turkey. Revelation 20 also confirms that the war between Gog and Magog will occur in the context of a final rebellion after the 1,000-year reign of Christ. This gives us even more confidence that Turkey is not only a participant in the war, but also plays a major role in instigating these events. From prophecy to reality. Current events, especially the close cooperation between Turkey, Russia, and Iran, may clearly indicate that biblical prophecy is becoming a reality. As we look at the global landscape today, with changing international relations and conflicts raging everywhere, we cannot help but think about the prophecy of the war of Gog and Magog. However, whether this war may occur in the near or distant future, one thing is sure: God will intervene in history to protect His people. It is in the most difficult moments, when humanity seems defeated, that God's intervention will be the greatest hope. And as these events unfold, we must remember that God's word will always be a guiding light for those who trust in His salvation. This war, despite its complexities, is part of God's great plan for the world. It is not only a warning, but also an invitation for all of us who believe in God to live in a way that is worthy of His prophecies. In all circumstances, we must always remember that God never abandons those who love Him and live according to His word. Number 7. Geopolitics and the final prophecy. We live in great turmoil when everything seems to be changing rapidly and unexpectedly. Yet, amid the turmoil, one thing is sure: God's prophecy is always fulfilled. And what we are witnessing today is not a coincidence. Instead, it is part of God's grand plan, leading humanity to the end of everything and a new creation. One of the major prophecies in the Bible regarding the great nations and their intervention in Israel is the prophecy of the war of Gog and Magog in the book of Ezekiel. In recent years, we have witnessed a marked shift in international relations, especially between Turkey, Russia, and Iran. Despite their different political interests and ideals, these three nations are drawing closer together unexpectedly. They have formed strategic alliances, strategic military cooperation, and joint efforts to address international issues, especially in the Middle East. This relationship is not only a modern political event, but also a strong indication that the biblical prophecy of the war between Gog and Magog is coming true. In Ezekiel 38 and 39, we learn that Gog will be the leader of a grand alliance consisting of nations from the north of Israel, including Gomer and Togarmah, areas that many scholars believe are related to Turkey. This prophecy describes an attack on Israel by these nations in the end times. What we are witnessing today seems to be forming part of this alliance, with Turkey, Russia, and Iran emerging as key players amid rising tensions between them and Israel. It can be said that the alliance between Turkey and Russia and Iran is not only a political phenomenon of today, but also a strong sign of the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. The relationship between Turkey and Israel, especially in the issues related to Jerusalem and Palestine, is becoming more tense than ever. Turkey has made important political and military decisions that affect the Middle East region, and its role in future events may be the key to better understanding the final war that the Bible foretold. As we look at the events that are taking place, we cannot help but notice the similarities between what happened in the past and what we are witnessing today. These political and military alliances between these countries may be a clear sign of the coming of the war of Gog and Magog, which the book of Ezekiel warned about. And while no one can know precisely when these events will occur, we must always be alert and vigilant, because God's word never fails. The message of this prophecy is a reminder to each of us that while we cannot know precisely when an event will occur, we must always be ready. Every event, every change in this world can be part of God's grand plan. We must never forget that God has already laid out the path, and we are called to live wisely, be alert, and pray for wisdom in every situation. The prophecy of the war between Gog and Magog is not a distant warning, but a reality that is slowly coming to pass. Nations such as Turkey, Russia, and Iran will play a major role in the end times, as these nations will unite against Israel. While we cannot see the whole picture, it is important that we view current events in light of God's word. Ultimately, this prophecy is not just a warning, but a call. A call to live in preparation, to understand that time is passing and we need to live by the principles that God has taught. Remember that nothing in this world is by chance. Every event is part of God's great plan, and when we look at current events, we see not only political changes, but also signs of the Lord's return and the fulfillment of prophecy. Live in awareness, live in hope and preparation, because the Lord has promised that He will return to fulfill all that He has prophesied. Always remember that no matter what, the Word of God will be fulfilled, and He will always be with us, guiding us through every trial and difficulty. The truth about Turkey in the Bible is not just a part of history, but also a profound prophecy, pointing to the future. In the Bible, this country is not only a place of historical significance, but also a symbol of change, restoration, and even a warning of God's judgment. Although Turkey is not mentioned much in the texts, places such as Meshech, Tubal, or Gomer in prophetic books such as Ezekiel or Daniel suggest a country that will play an essential role in the final events of this period. The prophecies about Turkey in the Bible always emphasize the choice between following God's plan and opposing it, including trials and judgments. The lessons from countries like Turkey in the Bible not only affirm God's justice, but also serve as a reminder of the need to repent and return to the Creator. It is the restoration, the right choice of these countries that will contribute to bringing peace, justice, and restoring everything to God's right order. We cannot ignore these prophecies, for they are our guidance for this day. Stay tuned and subscribe to the channel to receive more valuable lessons from the Bible, explore profound prophecies, and understand more about God's plan for us and this world.